Welcome to CFDb Interviews, and we're here today with Liam Matthews, producer, art director, and actor who played Bobby in the movie Do You Believe? Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. Do I have your permission to start recording the interview?
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role within the Christian film industry?
Ooh, so within the Christian film industry. Well, I've been a filmmaker for about 15 years, and I happened to become friends with Dallas Jenkins a while back, and we ended up working together on a short film in Arizona, and became fast friends. And then when Michigan put the film incentives into play, I moved back from Los Angeles. And we started 10 West Studios. And because of my relationship with Dallas, our first film through the studios was What If? And then after that, which led to a relationship with PureFlix, more and more films came through our studios, and we got along really well with those guys. And we all believed in the same thing, which was, of course, making films that glorify God and put a positive message out there for people. So that's it in a nutshell.
Would you share with us at least one time when you knew that God was really leading in your life in regards to your acting career?
It's a really great question. I'm just not sure I know how to answer it in such a way. You really want to. I think for me, and living in Hollywood for so long and watching the machine eat people alive, good and bad.
Yeah.
I think my prayer has always been that I would be protected from that. Nothing was worth my soul and my heart, and it's a really tough business to keep your head about you, even as a Christian, because you any bit of celebrity and people treat you different, and yes is typically what comes out of their mouth before no, and you don't want to lose sight of who you are. And it's not to say my career would ever have amounted to anything, but that was definitely always a concern of mine. So I think there's always a continual prayer for guidance and humility and knowing where you come from and what's important. Make sense?
It does. That makes total sense.
I mean, it's just a weird environment. I mean, I've done a lot of things, either as a sculptor or a production designer and other things, and you step into that world and it's just different. It's just different. There's nothing that I can compare it to except for maybe being a couple of my friends are senior pastors, and one's a senior pastor of a pretty large church, and we talk a lot about leadership and confidence and ego and how those things are intertwined and can fight against each other and fight against what God wants for your life, and it's something you got to be cognizant of, for sure.
That makes sense. I know that's a difficulty for everyone, no matter where you're at, but especially in Hollywood when people actually recognize you. Sometimes that's not a good thing for our egos. We don't really need it.
It's lucky for me, no one recognizes me.
Well, that's actually pretty funny because just a little side note here. We have little Google alerts for news coming out, and one of the words is Christian, and so Christian Bale comes up all of the time in our searches. And after getting it over and over again for months, I said to Roger, "Who is Christian Bale? I don't think I would recognize him if you walked down the street." I would actually recognize more Christian actors and actresses, I think, than I would regular. So,
that could be, yeah.
Yeah, so it is pretty.
I've been recognized in church, and that's, it's cool, it's fun.
Good enough, right?
Yeah, it's enough.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the character you played in Do You Believe and how you personally feel about the experience you went through?
Wow, I play Bobby Wilson, and Bobby Wilson's a paramedic, and he's a fairly new Christian, but a man of his convictions. And he ends up at the scene of an accident. There's a young man dying, and he knows he doesn't have much time to live, and he makes a spur of the moment decision and decides to share the gospel of Christ with him before he passes away, and in doing so, incurs the wrath of the young man's widow, and she sues Bobby and the department for everything he's got if he doesn't apologize. Well, Bobby doesn't apologize. He's a man, like I said, of his convictions, and he stands his ground. And in doing so, I don't want to give any spoilers, but one of the interesting things that comes out of there's a few. The two ones that are most prominent to me are my relationship with my own wife and recognizing how important our life is moving together as a team. I didn't expect that when I started the role. That was kind of something that happened while I was playing it. I became more and more aware of Bobby's relationship with his wife and how important and critical that is, especially when your career is threatened. And I think the other thing is in filmmaking. It's changed a lot in the last few years. I mean, I've been with it for about 10 years as being involved with the Christian angle. And one of my frustrations has always been, we need to show Christians struggling, and we need to show Christians struggling, and it doesn't end up always good for them because they love Jesus. Mm-hmm. Because that's reality. Yes, and, it doesn't end up perfect for Bobby, but it ends up good, especially in terms of his relationship with his wife. And I hope that the gritty reality of this particular film gives people hope that, even as Christians we struggle, and even as Christians things don't end up perfect, but we need to look for the good and look for what Christ is trying to tell us through our experience. And I think that really happens for Bobby, and it happened for me personally. And it's funny, I just had a family vacation, and we were coming back from Colorado, and we were driving at night. Our kids were asleep, and my wife had to pee. And I'm like, really, you've got to be kidding me. Your bladder's the size of a pea. And now we got to pull over all of a sudden. And just so happens, in the middle of Nebraska, there's an exit, and it's a gas station there. So we pull in. She uses the restroom. We get back on the highway, and we're not on the highway for more than 2 minutes, and I see an explosion about a mile ahead of me. Have you seen Do You Believe?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm like, honey, and she wasn't paying attention. Like, there was just an explosion in front of us. Like, someone had to have died in this. I mean, it was a huge explosion. And so we race up to the scene, and I'm one of the first people there.
Wow.
So my wife calls 911, and I jump out, and I'm running across the eastbound, which is what we were on, across the westbound to a semi-trailer that's engulfed in flames. And I'm like, I'm praying that I don't have to get into this vehicle, because I don't know how I'm going to get into this vehicle, right, because it's completely engulfed in flames. Thank God the driver was able to get out of his vehicle right after it initially exploded. And he was fine and was like, you got to get out of here. Call hazmat, call whatever. So I run back to the car, tell my wife to call hazmat. It was just a surreal moment. It was like I was in the movie all over again, right, except it was real. And as we're, this is a wreck that's spread over 100 yards. And as we're driving past, a young lady was killed, and she was in the middle of the road. And you never know what your number is called. And if my wife didn't have to make the stop, that the woman that was drunk and driving could have potentially hit us.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know what my point is in telling you all this. I mean, it was just, I suppose it's my most recent experience, and it really threw me back into playing the role of Bobby. And, I mean, the woman had passed away, but I mean, would I really have had the courage to witness to her as she was laying there, or the truck driver, or whoever else was involved in the accident? And I don't know. It's, you hope you do, but you never know. And so my prayer is that people see this movie and that makes an impression on them, as well as the characters and the lives of all those people that are followed throughout the film, that they can identify with at least somebody or some aspect. And this is Christian and non-Christian people alike. So, yeah, it was a pretty surreal moment for my family and I last week. So yeah, it's just like 4 days ago. It's crazy.
Wow, that's scary. And like you said, I mean, we all pray that we'll be able to do that, in the moment. That God will give us the strength to know what to say, when to say it, and yeah, that's pretty amazing. The movie was very powerful. There were so many different stories going on, and all of them. It was just great the way it all came together, and it was pretty impressive. My husband and I both really got a lot out of the film, and especially the ending. Are there any other upcoming faith projects that you're involved with that you can tell us about?
Yes. Well, there's a couple that aren't. There's the Batman Superman film, which is coming out next July. And there's Isra 88, which is a sci-fi film. But the other Christian film that I'm involved with at the moment is The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, which should come out Easter of next year. And that'll be a really great film. Another, it's a Dallas Jenkins project, Jenkins Entertainment, and Vertical Films, which is Harvest Bible Chapel out of Chicago. It's their film, and it was just picked up by WWE Studios. So you'll see that in Easter, and yeah.
Looking forward to that one. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the Christian Film Database listeners that hasn't already been covered?
Boy, I mean, we really need your support. We're doing our best to make more and more films that are not only geared to the Christian audience, but geared to non-Christians as well. And we need support from our Christian brothers and sisters. And people have asked me, has it really been difficult being in Hollywood? And I have to say, it's not been near as difficult as the criticism from our own Christians, our own brothers and sisters. That it's not a perfect world, and we're going to disagree on certain things. And the important point is that we stress God's love for people, and His saving grace, and it just blows my mind sometimes. People come out of the woodwork and pick, I'd love to make a film about that, although I don't think anybody would come see it.
I would love to see a film about that.
And I think we need to show people in their brokenness as well as the grace that God allows them to live in. So
we would like to close with you letting people know how they can learn more about you and your work.
Yes, you can of course always go to Internet Movie Database, or you can always you can visit me, or you can see me. Let me see, how would I phrase this? I'm on Twitter. See, the social aspect of what I do is really tough for me. I'm very much an introvert and a creative type, and so the social thing always gets me. Okay, you can go to Twitter, Liam Van Matthews, Liam Van VAN Matthews at Twitter.
Okay. Do
Or
you have,
find me on Facebook.
okay. Is your Facebook the same name?
It is the same name, yes.
Okay. Again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. You have been listening to CFDb Interviews. For more about CFDB, please check out our website at christianfilmdatabase.com.